welcome back to the Glasscast and Windowcast, the official podcast of Glass Magazine and Window+Door from the National Glass Association. I am Katie Devlin, the Vice President of Content and Programming for the NGA, and I am delighted to be recording this episode from Wausau, Wisconsin, at the home of Kolbe Windows and Doors. Today I am joined by Kolbe President Jeff DeLonay, by John Budzynski, right? Budzynski, the Product Certification Manager for Kolbe. And we also have via satellite, or really just via our wonderful Teams virtual meeting, we've got Scott Thomsen, the CEO of LuxWall. Scott is currently at LuxWall's manufacturing facility in Litchfield, Michigan. So thank you three so much for hopping on to record this podcast bright and early on a Monday morning.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for coming with us.
So let's just start out. I'd love to, I gave pretty brief overview introductions, but I'd love to just go around and have you both, all three of you introduce yourselves and just kind of your history in the industry. So Jeff, let's start with you.
Fantastic. So Jeff DeLonay, I'm a Wausau native. Actually grew up in the Wausau area, just 3 or 4 blocks from the main plant. Of course, when you're young, you don't really know that those items are around, and you kind of walk by it every day. Our school was about 2 blocks here from Kolbe and Kolbe, so good to grow up in the area. So my history here with Kolbe now ranges just a little over 40 years. And so coming out of college, not knowing exactly which direction to take, my older brother was working here as a door shop foreman, and he said, well, why don't you come to Kolbe and work? So summer work, I said, you know what, let's go find out. We'll take a job and see where life takes you from there. So started in the plant, and I started in the areas that would produce sub-assemblies for double hung windows and sliding patio doors. And a couple years after that passed, you got in the groove. Kolbe is a great place to work, and someone invited me to work up in the office. And I came up to the office and worked in the customer service areas. A couple of years after that, I moved into the estimating areas for estimating products. Of course, that time was a little bit more manual, not a lot of computers, a lot of handwork. And a few years after that, Kolbe decided to create a training department. And with the knowledge of customer service and estimating, they asked if I would start the training department, and I did that, and we trained both customers and employees. That got off to a roll, and after a period of time, we found a need to come back to the customer service area, both encompassing customer service and field service areas. Shortly after that, I added manufacturing, engineers, R&D, became director of customer service, VP of customer service, executive vice president, and president. So the chain of experiences through Kolbe was a joy to do. Worked very closely with Herb Kolbe, our founder, and was able to understand the culture that he was really trying to portray inside of the organization. And that's what we and myself try to bring to the table every day, is not only the products that we do. Our employees, our team members are extremely important to us, and the culture that was infused into the organization is something that we try to capture every day.
40 years.
Yeah, 40 years.
Wow.
I got a little gray, every time.
And really, truly hitting every part of the business, it sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what have you seen change? I mean, you before we hit record, you mentioned that we're, this facility, or the few buildings right around here, is over 1 million square feet. The company obviously has grown. So yeah, just
It's probably,
really quick.
probably one of the biggest things we see is the growth of building after building. We're located in a residential neighborhood, so we're very conscious of trying to be a good neighbor. And so the things that we do around the area, as we added building and building, is also try to make sure the buildings look pleasing to the surrounding neighborhood. And if you drive by, you'll notice, not just because we make windows, but we put a lot of them in the plant. and we try to dress up the landscaping very nice. So if you're a resident in the area, you drive by and you say, yeah, yeah, I understand it's manufacturing, but is it pleasing to look at, right?
Truly, I have never seen a manufacturing facility quite like this. As I was driving up, you come by and it's a very charming front facade
Yep.
of the facility. And then if you really look, you can see how far back those manufacturing buildings go. It's really exciting to be
Thank
here
you.
the first time.
So it's working.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, John, tell us about yourself and your experience here.
Okay, I've been with Kolbe 10 years. I'm the product certification manager, as you mentioned. I've been in the window and door industry for 25 years. Been a product design engineer in different capacities over now 35 years in combination with the certification of the products. And Kolbe is, like you said, the culture here is like none other that I've worked for in my history. A lot of my work has been in R&D, but I work more closely with customer support a portion of my time because of the demand that customers have for the performance ratings in different aspects, not just energy, but structural, acoustic, hurricane impact, all those things that customers are looking for in different products.
Yeah, those value adds, which is a little bit of the reason that we are here to talk about specifically kind of energy efficiency and demands for performance. And I think that's a nice segue to send us over to Michigan. Scott, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about LuxWall?
I am Scott Thomsen. Yeah, I grew up in northern Minnesota and also lived in North Dakota. So an upper Midwest person. I spent, 10 years in semiconductor flat panel avionics, not anything really related to glass. Used a little glass, and then I spent a couple decades at a small company called Guardian. I was the CTO, really drove the global low E coatings program, ran North America, and then ran the global glass group. And then I went into entrepreneur mode, where I started a couple companies and which are running. And then in 2019, I started LuxWall to tackle energy efficiency. After spending a lot of time on low E coatings, we chased solar heat gain coefficient, but we did nothing to improve conduction or convection. And that was the reason for starting LuxWall was, get to a U factor of 0.05, 0.04, and really drive down the the energy draw on buildings. And so that's kind of what led me to now.
So, the reason that we're recording this episode with the three of you is that back in February of 24, Kolbe and LuxWall announced a partnership to offer vacuum insulating glass as a new, high efficiency glass option for designers, the homeowners, builders, all in the residential business. So I'm curious, why was 2024, why was that the right time? Why is this the right time to bring VIG into residential?
Well, that's a good question. I had mentioned before we were on the air here that Kolbe actually showed a version of VIG glass many years ago at an international builder show, probably a little bit ahead of its time. The consumer wasn't quite ready for it. Energy demands in the United States were not quite as high as they are today, needy. And I think this kind of product is, its time is right. We have a lot of performance issues relative to windows and doors that we can elevate easily with this kind of product and save money for the consumer. I think that's what it's all about here.
Scott, what are your thoughts on this? Being the right time for VIG and residential.
I think if you look back, since the inception of double pane with argon, I mean, we're on 4 decades. And, low E has gone from pyrolytic to single silver, double silver, triple, there's selective quad, but it's now reached the point of almost diminishing returns. So I'd say, the industry is looking for something, but I think a big part of it is the energy costs. If you look at natural gas on a therm basis and you look at a kilowatt hour basis, places like New York City, it's 25 cents. California's got places that are 40, 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So, and I think the other thing we're seeing is that there's a utility push because there's grid problems. And buildings what consume about 40% of the energy, including homes. So, they want to put in data centers, and the more data centers, the more power, and there's a renewed focus on conservation. So I think you kind of have 3 to 4 kind of trends that are kind of converging right now.
Is the expectation of the customer in looking at commercial market versus residential when it comes to high performance glass? How do those two markets differ in terms of those customer expectations? How are the demands different when a homeowner is actually making the buying decisions often, and also they're the ones who are experiencing the space in a way that commercial occupants might not always be?
Scott, do you want to talk about commercial first?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can talk. So we're the bulk of our sales go into commercial. We're doing glass only retrofits where the metal is in good shape in a building. It either has single pane or like a double pane, like bronze outer, clear inner. So you have on an R value basis R1 or R2. So we can go in with our glazer partners, take out the existing glass, put in an R18, and even though the frame may not be the highest quality, you're still giving such a big step in energy efficiency that you're lowering, let's call it the owner payback down into the, we kind of say the 3 to 10 years, which is what we're seeing. So, that's kind of why we started on commercial, but we are seeing a pull earlier than we expected in residential. And I think it's same thing. I think it's comfort and the energy savings.
I would echo the comfort portion. A lot of our consumers, homeowners, architects, builders that we promote and sell to, I think to Scott's earlier point of the low E product is fantastic. It brought the industry a long way, but they're looking for the next step in performance. They really are. To Scott's point of energy costs, they're constantly rising, whether it be electric and or natural gas, and they're looking for a way to build the home that's going to last them for tomorrow. So if I put in a window today, and there's areas that unfortunately still use single glazed glass, but they're not really, it doesn't seem that they're compensating themselves well enough for either the heating or the cooling costs that they could recapture by putting in products like this that will, it just leapfrog them where they are today or in available offerings today. They can recapture a lot of those costs, and the comfort standing behind this glass, whether it's in winter and or summer, it's often thought that you need a higher R value or lower U value, whichever you look at it, in the northern climate. But we have to think of the southern climate also. There is the intensity of sunlight due to climate changes and stuff is very intense. And to have glass that can protect the inside of your home and lower your cooling costs is very huge in the southern market also. Mm-hmm. It's a comfort issue.
So let's take, a lot of the folks listening to this, they are industry folks. We have a lot of technical folks. So let's talk about the systems themselves, because for decades, as we have added thermal performance to our window systems, that has meant thicker and thicker IGUs. With VIG, that really shifts the equation. So can you describe the actual glass assembly that's going in there, and then how you adapted your high performance window systems to accommodate a smaller glazing bite, right?
How do you want to handle that? Okay, so Scott, do you want to handle the glass portion of it? Talk about glass makeups?
And, they always say go big or go home. Our mantra now is go thin or go home, because, so typically what we do right now, we're selling a 5/5 millimeter. So a 10 millimeter unit or a 12 millimeter unit in the case of Kolbe. Now we also sell a 4/4. So we're selling 8, 10, and 12 millimeter units. Now we will also sell to people where, they'll add a third pane and make it into we call it an Enthermal Plus. The industry calls it a hybrid. But the majority of the product we sell is just an 8, 10, or 12 millimeter in thermal.
So Scott, just to go back to that, so when you're talking about the hybrid units, that's sort of a more traditional IGU makeup, except one of those panes of glass is an actual VIG, yes?
Yeah. So normally, in a lot of cases, you'll still keep a low E outboard, and then instead of the clear inboard, you put the thermal vacuum unit. And people like that sometimes because if you go with an 8, 10, or 12, you have to change your sash. You have to, new gaskets or a pocket reducer. And in some cases, it's just easier to make, a 25 millimeter unit that's a direct drop into your existing, frame and sash systems.
And Scott, let's talk numbers on this. So what would the thermal performance values be on, one of these hybrid assemblies?
So we're seeing like 0.043 U factor, which would be like an R21, R22 center glass.
Yeah. Wow.
Measured, and that's measured at Intertech or Element, and it's John knows as ASTM C518. So just for the nerds out there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and what is the required R value for walls? Isn't it like 15, right? So
It's right there, right? Insulated wall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's move to the assembly, the window assembly side. How does that look like? What does that look like from your end?
The switch over to VIG was pretty smooth, and many of our products, minimal changes needed to occur to get us to adapt this glass into them. Certain products do perform better by their design, and in our R&D work and innovation work, we're looking at other things to even go further with that ability to design with VIG to make even more performance enhancing changes.
So one thing that has come up in many of the conversations I've had about VIG is just addressing the pillars, and just visually how that does. How that is and is not noticed by consumers. Now, in residential applications, often those visual notes come up from homeowners in a way they might not in a commercial or institutional setting. So, can you talk through just the pillars of it all, of these systems, and how the consumers are sort of reacting or not reacting to those on the window?
Well, as we're presenting this product to consumers through our distributors, we make sure that they are aware of this look to begin with, that there are pillars in there, because honestly, we've had architects come in, spend a good part of the day talking about the glass, handling the glass, looking at it, and not even seeing the pillars and having to bring them to their attention. We've come a long way, or LuxWall has, with the size of the pillars, the spacing of the pillars, everything that goes into the design of it. to make it not only high performance but highly aesthetic, pleasing.
So at the International Builder Show this last year, we took two different types of units, a direct set window and a door, and they both had this LuxWall glass in. One had the Enthermal and one had the Enthermal Plus. And we did exactly what you're asking about. We wanted to know from independent people, can you see the pillars, and is it a concern, right? And so when you walk up to the piece of glass, and generally people will look through glass. They don't necessarily always look at glass, but we ask them to look at the glass, right? So normal a person standing 2 or 3 feet away is looking through it, where step closer. Let me see it in a 1 foot measurement. What do you see? And I said, well, do you see the pillars? And they're moving their head from side to side. And I said, well, where are they? Where are they? And it's very hard to see them. John's exactly point. Scott's organization, the size of the pillar that they went with, the spacing with it is, and the color and the material, if you say, is very unobtrusive to the eye. Can you see it? Yes, you can. And even to that point, we do ask our distribution to say, make sure that you show the customer this. Let's not have any surprises, right? But it's nice to say, it's very tough to see. Mm-hmm. It's come a long, long way from where initial VIG glass development had started. It's a good thing.
Yeah, Scott, do you want to dig into that at all?
No, yeah, I can a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the key is we put a lot of time and effort into getting the strength of the pillars higher so we could shrink the size, the diameter. So yeah, I mean, you can read the patents. I mean, we're only 0.5 millimeters, half a millimeter in diameter on the pillar. So it's very hard to see.
So let's talk about the next 5 years, say, in this market. You know, what's your crystal ball for market penetration, for homeowner response, overall market response?
Our response to that one is the fact that we think this product, once it gains market acceptance, and the reason I say that is, even today when we have our business development people calling on architects, a lot of our architects, they are not aware what a VIG means and what it is. So there's an education process for sure, and that'll take a little while. But once that is overcome, I think that you're going to see a waterfall effect from this situation. And they're depending on the building that they're going to do, you have definitely earlier adopters, and some of those are not consumers. Some of those are builders. And if a well-known builder adopts, other builders will follow. And I think that this will be a good takeoff for a lot of the builders.
Scott, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well on the question of market awareness. Since you are working on the commercial side, VIG is not a brand new product by any means. It's over 2 decades, and maybe even close to 3 decades for some applications.
The first patent was in, I think, 1962, something like that. It was in the early 60s. So no, it is not a new concept. People have been trying for, in my mind, 60, 70 years to do this. And in my view, it wasn't possible till the flat panel TV market went to OLED. When they went to OLED, that created a new class of materials that made it possible. So really, people ask me what was the trigger point, and I say 2 things: microelectrical mechanical structures, MEMS, and OLED TVs. That's what really, kind of technologically in my mind made it, be able to happen now versus say 5, 10, 15 years ago.
And what are you thinking about, Scott, in terms of market awareness in the conversations you are having? How has awareness grown among architects, builders from 5 years ago, and how are you feeling about the next 5 years?
I'd say it's pretty hit and miss. I mean, you can go, like I was in New York City a couple weeks ago, and you've got some property owners and architects that, oh yeah, they're aware of vacuum glazing, and they said, oh yeah, I saw that 27 years ago or whatever, you know. And then you have people that have no idea. So I can't really answer. I think it's all over the place. It's kind of a shotgun of awareness today. I think that is the challenge, is to get awareness out there. And I think the more projects that get done, especially the ones that have visibility, there's more case studies on the energy savings. I think that will increase the awareness in amongst the architects, because this is an industry that typically fears change. People say, are they against it? No, they're afraid of it, because you can Google lawsuits and fenestration, and you could read, sit for a month and read. So I think I think people are just, they've gotten burnt in the past with some other things, and so I think it's always more, you got to prove it. So it's building awareness and proving that it really works and it installs easy. And to me, that's the key right now. And then for the next 5 years, I don't think it's gonna be low E, with the advent of the post temperable back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I think it's gonna go faster than people think. Because I think, there was a lot of, vacuum glazing produced on small one-off prototype lines that kind of set a price in the market. And as Jeff said, we are at or below triple silver. Not sorry, triple silver, but triple pane. And, we will continue to drive the cost down, because you have to. So, yeah, I think to me, it's that price inflection curve. If companies can hit that price point, it'll take off at a faster rate. But that's what it's going to come down to, is the cost of the unit, because the energy efficiency is great, but in the end, it's still got to be at a price point that creates mass adoption.
You all are in a unique position in that you are, manufacturing VIG domestically. How do you anticipate that might affect the market response, being able to have this manufactured here in the States?
No, it's huge, because we have a lot of property owners and glazers that have been interested for years, but what do you do if they break a unit on a building? I mean, we right now, because that happens, to drop it or something. And, and we've done projects now that are, 18, 21, 30,000 square feet completed. And, we'll ship in 3-4 days, remakes, to the job site. So I think, if you're a glazer and you're getting that type of service on a remake, I mean, that's everything. You can't wait 12, 8, 10, 12, 16 weeks or pay air freight. So I think that's been one of the biggest inhibitors, or, adopter blockers, is no domestic production.
So I think I'd like to close out by just talking about the importance of having a partnership like this when you are introducing a product that's, as we said, it's not brand new, but it is pretty unknown to so many in the market. So talk about the power of bringing the companies together.
Scott's facility is not very far from where we are today. We're in Wausau, Wisconsin. So a trip over to his organization, which a number of our people have made multiple times, that's the key. The connection between your organization and another organization, in this case Scott's and ours, is the close working relationship you can develop. It's great to have a product to offer, right? But if you can more seamlessly incorporate it into another product, ours in this situation, that transition can be very smooth, or it can be very bumpy. Scott's people have been very cordial with information. John can say the same thing. He is often on the phone, trying to get certain information. Sometimes it's, oh, I forgot to ask. Sometimes, okay, now let's work on the next product. I want to offer this in. What's the product for that? Do you have the glass thicknesses? All that kind of stuff. So their coordination and our coordination is of the utmost. Maybe you want to add more to that one.
Yeah, I mean, we meet weekly, if not multiple times a week, working on things like purchasing information to smooth the process of ordering, tying everything together to the orders that we have running through here to the orders that they're putting out. And some of the new people that have been brought on even recently have been very active in reaching out to us for information, working with us on developing what we need to have happen.
Scott, how about from your end? Thoughts on the partnership?
It's good. I mean, it's good. We got to have good partners because we don't sell windows. So it's a good point. So we got to have good partners. No, but it's been really good. John's a whip master, taskmaster at times, but that's what we need because, in a startup, it's, there's a lot going on. So it's helped. I mean, obviously we need Kolbe. It's critical, but it's been a good relationship and, yeah, it'll be interesting to see now how it takes off.
I so appreciate you calling in for this. And Jeff and John, thank you for welcoming me to this facility. Just for folks who are listening, we are currently in the Innovation Greenhouse, which is a just gorgeous kind of showroom space right across from the Kolbe manufacturing location. So thank you for inviting me up. It's really been a pleasure to chat with you both here. And Scott, it's been wonderful to chat with you.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.